Good evening, and welcome to a momentous live episode 44.
Whoa.
Eight's a very lucky number in certain numerologies, so I'm feeling good about today's episode. Happy New Year. We've got Gray Williams back with us today after, taking a little time off for the holidays. I would say
Yeah.
much deserved, but I don't want to, put any value judgment on that one way or the other. And who's beside you there, Gray?
David
hello.
Stewart?
That's
Hello?
me.
Yeah.
And who's down there?
Me, William Silver.
Hooray, we're all here. All right. So this is going to be rapid fire. Last week we had special guests, Jamie Reynolds and Jerome Matthew, joining us to talk about some of our top picks of 2021. Today we're going to look into the future, gaze into our crystal balls, and talk about what excites us most in the upcoming year in tech and TV series, both returning and new, and movies, and then maybe some wildcard picks in there. We may have some other categories that we want to throw into the mix. So let's start off with our most anticipated tech product of 2020 year. And this could be based on actual news. It could be based on rumor. Gray, let's start with you.
Well, I think I mentioned to all of you that I've been really steeped in VR for the last couple of weeks. I'm dog tired right now because earlier today I spent about an hour and a half boxing in a game called Supernatural, and it's actually like proper boxing trainers and things. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I've got an original Oculus dev kit downstairs, the old 640 by 480 one, still brand new in the box. I kickstarted this thing.
Weird flex, but okay.
Well, got Palmer to lucky up to the point where he was able to then, motivate some people to invade the Capitol. Happy almost anniversary, by the way. So looking at that, though, I mean, the Oculus Quest has been a phenomenal piece of hardware. It's great. You can see the influences that people like Carmack have had on pushing this forwards. But for me, the most desired piece of technology is going to be Apple's AR or VR glasses. And I think this is the year for it. We take a look at all of the things that they have pulled together with AR Kit. I think we're ripe for it now. With LiDAR being built into all of the devices, with the scanning being built into all of the devices, the idea of your Apple glasses being a gateway into an augmented world or possibly a virtual world, I think is kind of really interesting. So one of the neat pieces of technology that you'll find with VR glasses right now is something called pass-through. Right. So basically put the headset on and it gives you a view of the real world outside you. That's your augmented view. And for the most part, the Quest, the Vive, the pass-through is not great. Like it literally on the Quest 2, it's black and white. It's grainy. It works for the most part. It's quite, I want to say susceptible, but it's receptive to UV light. I've got a lamp coming that is a non-visible spectrum UV lamp that I can throw onto the space so I can actually play in the dark, because that's one of the things I found last night. I was actually working on a program called SideQuest you can actually now officially sideload apps onto the Quest with their app lab. But it's just basically like regular light blows it out, or UV light from the face camera on the iPhone blows it out. So, this is the thing that I'm really looking for. I'm seeing a lot of promise right now. Things that I would hoped for in VR when I originally kickstarted the Oculus dev kit many moons ago, but we're actually there. And the standalone nature, I think, of the Quest 2 is actually something that's really got me interested, because looking at what Apple's doing with their A series and M series processors, Carmack famously was saying, like, if we could cool this thing, we could push it a whole lot harder. And if there's a computer chip out there right now that runs, fast, power efficient, and cool, it's Apple's stuff. So this is the one I think that it's going to take the experience I've had over the last couple of weeks and really blow it up over the course of the next year, hopefully.
Yeah, they've really been putting the pieces in place over a number of years, like you mentioned with the LiDAR capabilities in the iPhones, and really setting the stage for developers to start experimenting with potential VR and AR capabilities in anticipation of said glasses. Now, Gray, for your anticipation / prediction, do you think we're actually going to see a consumer product this year, or do you think we're going to maybe see something at WWDC for the developers to start working on for a potential retail release in 2023?
You know, I think it's probably going to be a dev product, but the hopeful me says that we've actually had all of the dev products already. You know, we've got the iPad, we've got the iPhone, we've got Xcode, we've got all the pieces here that developers have needed to put AR and VR experiences in place. They've been training developers for the last 4 years to do this. You know, it's kind of funny. Tasia, I actually watched one of your YouTube videos on YouTube VR. Massive 300-inch screen hanging 4 or 5 feet away from me.
That's a lot of Tasia.
There's a lot of Tasia. You know, it was so. It's going to be interesting to see. You know, I have a few people from work who received quests over the holiday season, and they do have some Facebook tie-ins still. So I had people pop up and send me messages there. So, you know, practical me says developer product. Hopefully, says consumer product for holiday 2022.
Well, by some of the mock-ups that we've seen online, including the one just in front of you, it looks like Apple might be repurposing some of their unpopular Apple Watch straps for you know, for their headsets. There,
That's the headband from the AirPods Max.
Perfect.
That, if you look at it, like if you tilt that sideways,
Yeah,
that's the head. Yeah,
we just need some mesh, but looks like we've got some fluoroelastomer going on there too.
yeah.
Good stuff. Tasia, what are you most excited for tech-wise for 2022?
Well, mine's nothing exciting, as it is not a specific brand, but it is a need. So one of my outdoor security cameras broke, and I need to replace it, but I refuse to go with the brand that I have because they do not stand by their products.
Ooh,
So
fired. Name names.
Shots fired.
Yeah.
yeah, looking at you, Arlo. Okay.
Oh,
Bad dog.
So, so I'm thinking, I mean, really, there's only a few choices. So I might go like the Google Nest outdoor cam, but I really don't know yet. And it's not like there's specific new models for 2022. So I just don't know, because then I have to replace both, you know, so I'm not paying for 2 different services because one of my cameras is still working. That's what I was wondering. But it's really between like Wise, Nest outdoor cam, or maybe like a Ring, but our neighbors have one, and like the night sight isn't really like super great on it. So, you know,
So
we're kind of
that's-
down to like a few options.
That's my Wise cam right now, which is, I mean,
Okay.
it's actually quite clear on the screen here. That's night vision. It's in color. The one thing that I will say is that I keep getting notifications that rain and snow are breaking into my backyard.
Oh,
I still haven't liked that one yet.
Well, if you look
Yeah.
outside, that checks out.
so yeah, that's going to be my big purchase. I'm going to switch up my security cameras.
I feel your pain there. Not that I have any existing ones to replace, but been looking at something for perhaps outdoor. But for me, now that HomeKit is finally gaining some traction, I'm looking for something that is HomeKit compatible. We got a few more Wemo switches, HomeKit compatible Wemo switches, and got them going in the last few weeks, and have been having fun interacting via our various home pods, and just asking Siri to turn on the living room lights or the back deck lights, and on and off, and the timers and all that kind of stuff. We had a previous Wemo switch that we still have, but it's not HomeKit compatible, so you have to use the app, and you can set timers to the app for that, but it's kind of in its own silo. Bringing everything to HomeKit, I found, has great potential, and so that's going to be a requirement for me for any cams or any other IoT devices that we get going forward here, including new thermostat. We're going to have to replace our thermostats. We're looking at the Ecobee and whatnot. Yes, Gray.
I was going to say, for both of you, the Wise cameras actually are RTSP compatible. It's with the beta firmware, and that will work with both HomeKit through HomeBridge. It will work with Google natively. So that's something that you could. I mean, they're cheap and cheerful. Right, like that. I think the outdoor cam, the Wise 3 that I've got, it's magnetic, so it just slaps right onto the metal outside.
Yeah.
I'm using a weather-rated USB cable, which it's clearly working. And RTSP, I get notifications. I actually get notifications in my Oculus headset that the snow is coming down. in my backyard. That's really drawn it full circle, I think. So,
But do you get notified when your butt rub gets stolen?
well,
Exactly.
How about you, Will? What tech? I mean, you before the show you had mentioned some extenuating circumstances based on your 21 behavior, but
Yeah.
what are you looking forward to this year?
Well, I bought a lot of what you might call the conventional tech last year, phone, laptop, stuff like that. As you guys all know, I'm always looking at mixers and DJ equipment.
Jesus, here we go.
There's a company called
Nope.
Eckler.
You're cut off.
Yeah, cut off.
We've talked about this, Will.
Yeah, we have.
this is actually an intervention. We didn't want to get
Yes.
into it right this early,
Yeah.
but
There's a company called Eckler. You guys might have seen, I retweeted some stuff a while ago. Basically, they announced that they're releasing a mixer in February. It was a little of a letdown because it might be what's known as a rotary mixer, which is not kind of mixer that I would use. They're usually known for their scratch mixers. It's been about 13 years. That's the Nuo 2.0, which I have.
Of course you do.
It's very high quality. It's from Spain. They do a lot of high-end acoustics and AV solutions and things like that. Installations for stores and restaurants and things like this. But they dabbled about 20 years ago in doing DJ mixers. They had the HAK or the Hack, whichever one you choose. Some people say HAK, some people say Hack, 360, 320, 380. Some people were hoping that this was going to be a 400. It sounds like it's just going to be a new O2 repackaged as a rotary mixer. Other than that, I'm also... Yes, the legendary DJ brand is back. So they released a teaser video and everything with people scratching, and instead it's going to be a rotary mixer from what I hear from some inside sources. So that's not as awesome as I'd hoped. The other thing is, scratch circles, scratch DJs have been slow to adopt DJ controllers. There's been some tiptoes into this market, particularly the Rain 1, sort of the Rain 12, which is basically a digital turntable. I'm looking maybe this year, maybe next year, them coming out with something, Rain and possibly Pioneer, a scratch-focused 10-inch controller. You can't get 12 because that would just be massive. Two of those things next to each other with a mixer in the middle would not be portable at all. So those things are quite large.
You need a double decker, so
exactly.
Save space.
So I think that's where that's going. Scratch DJs are enormously stubborn and conservative, and many people don't like digital and want to stay with vinyl and needles. I have no love for needles. I would give them up in a minute. They are a pain in the butt. They break, they skip. They're susceptible to bass sounds if you're in a club or any kind of environment with serious speakers. So I'm not a big fan of them, and I would look forward to more products which are sort of all-in-ones or more digital-based. So,
gotcha. Will, always with the specialty audio picks for those aspiring DJs out there, whether traditional or digital. Will's your man.
Gotta be me. I know I'm the weird one, but it's a very weird subculture. But yeah.
Not weird at all. That's awesome. As for myself, I'm going to be pretty basic. I got to admit, I am looking forward to a rumored 2022 iMac Pro. I know the three of you all got MacBooks Pro, M1 Max MacBooks Pro. Early last spring, I got a refurb M1 MacBook Air because I'm loving the iMac lifestyle. And should some M1 or M1 Pro or M1 Max or even an M2 iMac Pro come out, that's something that I would be totally down for. Of course, the the renders are kind of echo some of the original design language from Apple's Cinema displays and Thunderbolt monitors from the late 2000s and early 2010s. And then to go along with that, there's people have been crying for years for a new standalone monitor, which would be a nice complement to said iMac Pro. With similar sort of design language and maybe costing less than $6,000 US when you include a stand. So, Apple might throw us a bone and sell us a monitor for $3,000. Who knows? I'm not sure if I'm quite in the market for something quite that dear. But our current setup, been enjoying that a fair bit. A couple of vertically oriented monitors, 27-inch monitors flanking the 27-inch iMac. Both Stephanie and I have those back to back, and got quite the command center going. But the M1 Mac iMacs have gotten great reviews, but they are decidedly consumer oriented with their multiple colors and their 24-inch screens. So we still don't have a new 27-inch iMac yet, and the smart money is saying that Apple might be saving that for a line of iMacs Pro, perhaps in space gray, and that's it, because they discontinued the Intel-based iMac Pro in the spring, a month or two before they released the M1 iMacs. So the M1 iMacs are nice, but I would be looking for a bit more of a jump than the M1 iMacs would present. So that's me, kind of basic in that respect. And just slowly but surely. I'm not like Will. I'm buying like 3 massive things in a given year on the for Tim Cook's stock options to become even more valuable.
Also busted. So
yeah.
Oh, did you do 3 as well?
iPad, iPhone, and
there you go. There you go.
The trifecta.
Yep.
Yeah.
Actually, it was 2 iPads, one for Ray, 2 iPhones, one for Ray, and one new MacBook Pro, mostly for me.
Yeah, Tasia and I look relatively financially responsible by comparison. Look at us. Just holding out. All right. Let's move on to our next category. And we know Tasia's got limited time on this earth. With us this evening. So let's roll the next 2 together, Tasia. And that is upcoming TV series in 2022, new TV series, or returning TV series. So we'll do both of those at once, and we'll start with you, Tasia.
Well, I'm just going to go with returning because I don't actually have like a new series that came out this year. Like I'm watching a lot of older stuff, but returning that I've been waiting so long for is The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. I'm like so excited for that to come back. It's finally going to come back. And I'm very excited. If you guys don't watch that show, you have to watch it. It's Amazon Prime.
I know Jamie's a big fan of it as well. What do you like about The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Tasia?
So the story is like it's like old timey. So like it's like a woman breaking through, and I just like kind of the message of it. That she's like this up and coming comic, or like she's trying to kind of like dabble in that. And she's going through some things personally too. I don't want to give like too much away if you guys haven't watched it, but it is hilarious and there's some amazing actors in it. It's just really good. And it's one of those things now where like it's been so long, we're gonna have to watch like a major recap again because there was such a COVID break that it's like, I have to figure out like, that was the last scene I saw. Okay. But I'm very excited for that to come back.
Now, are there no, and do you have anticipated a new series that you've seen on the horizon, like some new IP or existing IP being repackaged for television that have caught your eye at all?
No.
All right. So Marvelous Mrs. Maisel it is. So season 4. Movies? Is that what your pandemic's been a lot more movies than TV this year? Or?
Well, yes and no. I've been catching up on like older shows, I think. And so like everything I'm watching right now is stuff that just came out, like new seasons of old shows. There's only really one new show that I've started watching, but technically it came out in December of 2021. So,
how's Saved by the Bell going?
It's oh God. No, and it's pretty bad. I'm watching And Just Like That on HBO Max, and it's not great. But anyway,
that's the Peloton ad, right?
That's Peloton ad.
Too soon?
Yes, it is a Peloton ad, but I was a big Sex and the City fan, so I thought I'll jump in, and now I'm in it, and here we are.
So
Bless.
for those, who just may be wondering, what was that comment that Gray just made and what that had to do with anything? So Just Like That is sort of an offshoot of Sex and the City, correct?
Yes.
And a certain character dies in that series. And so no spoilers. And then Peloton hires said actor to do a Peloton commercial with a voiceover by Ryan Reynolds. I think it was Ryan Reynolds' agency that did the ad. And at the very end saying, actually, this person's still alive, and it's kind of like a joke and this, blah, 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 blah. But then within 24, and that all happened like within a day or two of, news breaking that said character was dead. And then within a day or two of that actor got canceled for some sort of questionable behavior. So I mean, what year is it now?
Yeah.
How fast these news cycles go nowadays.
It was literally
later,
in 4 days.
Yeah.
And every time I saw that story pop up, and we won't mention the character, all I heard in the back of my head, every time I would just bum bum, I'm like, I gotta go. They're gonna get Chris Maloney in here to deal with this. I'm out. Gotta go.
Yeah.
That was an SVU joke for you, those of you playing along for the HomeKit.
No idea what. Yeah, we got the bum bum. Yeah. Law and Order.
So,
all right, you know what?
Christopher Maloney is in Law and Order SVU. He must investigate sex crimes. There's a whole
gamut.
There's a bone on that one. Anyway, please carry on.
Before we move on to Will, let's Tasha, just in case we run out of time, let's get your anticipated movie pick for 2022 as well.
Okay, well, there's two, but one I think somebody else is going to pick, so I'm not going to say it. But this one,
don't save up. You got to use your privilege.
Just
and
blow
go.
it.
But this one is technically also one that came out right at the end of 2021, so I don't know. Don't shoot me.
Oh, so is it Oscar bait?
No. But it's the Super Bob Einstein movie. So I don't know if you guys it's on HBO Max. It just came out. It's called the Super Bob Einstein movie. And maybe this falls into like a documentary category instead, but it's not really. It's like a tribute. I don't know if you guys ever used to watch Super Dave Osborne.
Oh, yeah.
You ever watch that funny, hilarious show? So I grew up on that show, like watching with my dad. So Bob Einstein was the actor that played Super Dave Osborne.
Right.
And he also had like a recurring character in Curb Your Enthusiasm and like a bunch of different shows. And they've come out with this movie. Like I literally think it was like probably the last day of 2021 or whatever it came out. But like, I really want to watch it because it's supposed to be a tribute to him. And there's like a bunch of celebrities in there that talk about him and his acting. And like, I think they're regaling stories of time with him or whatever. But I'm just really interested in it, and then because I just like always watch that with my dad. And I thought he was so funny.
Yeah. And he goes way back too. I think he was on a sketch comedy show called Bizarre back in the 80s. I think that was
he wrote on the Smothers Brothers.
Oh, that, yeah. And his acting, he's always
did.
so deadpan, which is amazing, like on Curb Your Enthusiasm. And even like in interview appearances when he was on like Norm Macdonald's video podcast a number of years ago. And in talk shows he would go on. He was just like so deadpan. It was amazing.
I remember when I first started watching like Super Dave Osborne with my dad, and I was like so young. And I asked him, like, is this real? Like, is this a real man? Because he was so... Like when he would do the interview portion, my dad was like, "No, honey, like he's playing a character." Like it's just so funny. So yeah, I just love him. So like I'm very excited to see that. So maybe this weekend I'll finally watch it.
Good pick.
And then I'll let you guys know.
And while we're at it, do you have a wild card pick for us? Whether a book or a game or some other crazy thing you've heard about that might be coming up in the next year or so.
Well, okay, it's in the other room, but Google Team Pixel just sent me a bunch of tarot cards. Wait for it. It's a really good marketing campaign because they came up with like an Instagram story filter that like an AR filter for the Google Pixel 6 Pro.
Wow.
And so like this is the reel I'm trying to make. Okay. So this is like, you can put the phone over the card and activate the AR filter, and then the card comes to life. I don't know what it means because I don't understand.
Sony has something like this called Eye of the Beholder on the PlayStation 2, from what I recall.
It's really bizarre.
Now,
but anyway, that's kind of fun.
Do you use this to tell the fortune of the Google product that they're about to cancel?
We're still bitter about Google
you
Reader.
will live this year. The Six of Cups. Maybe not.
What about
I've literally pulled all cups cards first, and then it comes with this little packet, and I had to like read what they meant. And one was like, "You are home," and I'm like, "Well, no shit, Sherlock." No.
Use the GPS on the phone to let them know.
I was like, okay, great. But so then it's kind of fun. So I'm going to play around with it a bit. And I don't believe in that stuff at all, but I just thought it was fun. Also came with like a candle and like a big ass sage stick. So I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to do. Guys, I don't know.
Are you sure this was the Pixel team? Like they don't just have some random fan out there who's like, okay, so little Santeria, we're going to do this. And no?
I got to tell you, as a sidebar, I picked up the package today. I was like expecting it for a while and there was no package. But then the past couple of days, I started listening to a newer season of one of my murder podcasts. And the season was about this guy that got blown up by a package. So then today, when I went to pick up the package, I was like, oh no, like I don't want to hold this. And like I put it like in the back of the car because I was so freaked out.
Tasia, are you a level 7 susceptible? I mean, you seem pretty suggestible.
Because like this is the wrong time to listen to a murder podcast about being exploded from a package.
Is it the right time?
Yeah, I was going to say every time is the wrong time to be listening to a murder podcast.
While you're the most joyous U.S. postal system, I don't think there's any good time to listen to things about the mail.
I mean, if it was a glitter bomb, that'd be exciting. Now, Gray has been consuming a lot of witch-related media recently, and so maybe Google is dabbling in the dark arts here. The Google Wixel 7 coming this summer, maybe.
Complimentary salt for your doorstep.
You could go online and like join like a Google Meet with like some tarot card reader, and I mean, I did not do that. Like I was like, I don't want to do that.
Google Seance coming this fall.
How can you read somebody's cards over Google Meet?
Hard pass.
The multiverse is everywhere. The mycelium network draws us all together. It's a thing. It's a thing.
All right.
But it is fun.
So now, are you hinting at, with our little trip down the path of the dark arts there, hinting at some, looking forward to perhaps a new Google product, say the next Pixel phone, and since you're on their short list now to receive said products?
Yeah, it would be amazing. I mean, I knock on wood, assuming they're going to, like, I still cannot get over the camera on my 6 Pro. It's insane. So I don't know, like, even to shoot, like, so I'm trying to make a reel for these tarot cards, and I was like just testing it out. And so like I set up like my iPhone like on a little tripod to like test out, while I was using like the Pixel 6 to show stuff. And like the video quality is so awful because like I had to like go a bit wider. And I was like, well, I can't use this because it's shot on an iPhone and I'm supposed to be like promoting Google products. And I was like, and also, so I think I'm just gonna actually use like my legit camera now and do like a vertical video though on it, just so I give it its
if iPhones are good enough for Samsung's marketing department for years on end, I think they're good enough for Google.
Right? I know. The good thing about posting reels is I don't think you can see what device posted a reel because I've looked into it. Because I've been like, wait, I want to make sure I'm not getting busted. Yeah.
All right, Tasia, it's past, and if you've got to bail, we will let you go. It was wonderful to see you.
Bye, everybody.
Even half as much. We look forward to seeing you next week. And we,
see y'all next week.
Yeah. This is what? What's that?
I hope your week is truly what?
Momentous.
I have no idea. Well done. A halftime break. Look at that. We're like so many new innovations from Momentous Live this year.
Bye, guys.
See you, Tasia.
Is that the halftime show?
Yeah. Why not have some halftime horns?
Maybe we need that. Like we just need to do like a 2-minute break. Get up, get a coffee.
That's right. Yeah. Get some red vines. or Twizzlers, because we're in Canada.
Right.
All right, let's keep this show moving, and we will spread these topics out once again. Let's start with. Actually, what order did I have it in the rundown? Because I've got movie being next. Oh yeah. So let's do new TV series. Gray.
Yeah, Star Trek: Strange New Worlds. This one's really easy. We saw the Enterprise pre-Kirk delivered to us at the end of Star Trek Discovery Season 2. Anson Mount takes a jump onto that beautifully rendered new ship. There is a company called Eagle Moss. Have you heard about these guys? They make Trek models, and it's the one. Like I'm tempted. I'm looking at this model and going, I really need this Enterprise in my life. And so they've got Rebecca Romaine as number 1, which was Majel Barrett in the original pilot, The Cage. And so they have a female first officer, which is great to see Star Trek come back to where that actually started. We've got Ethan Peck, I believe, as Spock. They've got the whole cast rounded out. So it's going to be really exciting to see. So, I mean, Discovery keeps on going. It keeps doing great stuff. And I'm really enjoying where they're taking the story. But now we've got this wonderful, I wasn't really too keen on the idea of Discovery being in this middle space that hadn't quite been described. But Christopher Pike was a character that we knew of. And obviously, spoilers for how old is it now? 75-year-old show? Something like that? 50-year-old show?
Not quite that. I mean, that's the end of World War II. So,
it's the end of World War II. So,
just over 50 years, 68.
The concept was come up by Gene Roddenberry when he was in the war. But yeah, 50-year-old show. I had the 25th anniversry box set as a VHS. I'm getting my decades stuck together here. So 50-year-old show. But he has this horrific end that we see in The Cage and Where No One Has Gone Before. And
he got a sweet wheelchair out of it, let's be fair.
Beep. So it's interesting because they actually face that directly in Discovery. So it's gonna be fascinating to see this human go through and just live a bold, brash, wonderful Starfleet life. And the ship looks so good. And I mean, the interesting thing is, like with Discovery, people were upset because it's got this modern take on drama, which you have a continuous story from beginning to the end of the season. Which a lot of folks didn't like. They wanted the episodic return, and so now we get our cake and we get to eat it as well. Which, what's the point of having a cake if you don't eat it? So yeah, Star Trek: Strange New Worlds, right? And I'm really Alexander Courage wrote the original theme to Star Trek. The sound very tropical. So I'm so looking forward to what they do here, because I love the Discovery theme song. I've loved every theme song all the way back to the original. The first time you heard those orchestral, just the hits of Next Generation, because we heard something similar in the motion picture, that dun, 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 dun. Like it was pomp and it was militaristic and it was wonderful. And they've got into this like introspective sort of thing with Discovery, which is very much in line with the show and very much in line with where we are as a society right now. So going back to something I think that maybe has a little bit more adventure, a little bit more whimsy, I could really use that right now.
Welcome to Momentous Live, home of Star Trek themed karaoke a cappella.
I got this. You want to hear some DS9? Da 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 da. Bum, bum, bum.
Good time. That's a great pick. I totally zoned on that one. That probably would have been my number 1, but that's going to have to be an honorable mention for me. So good choice. And yeah, the ship, as teased in Discovery season 3, I guess. And the casting of course, Anson Mount as Pike, Rebecca Romaine as number 1, Ethan Peck as Spock, and then a whole bunch of new characters that they're going to be introducing as well, with of different backgrounds to kind of. I think there's an Andorian.
There's absolutely an Andorian there, yeah,
and a few others. So it should be. I think there are multiple takes on Discovery, and I like the serialized nature of Discovery. I might have some other issues about it itself, but I kind of wish, honestly, that Strange New Worlds was serialized, but because I like basically like long movies. So the episodic stuff, it's kind of like, it's like the Monster of the Week. Like you would see those Monster of the Week episodes in X-Files versus the conspiracy episodes of the X-Files. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully, there's some thread that connects the episodes.
And that's it. I think they had that DS9 micro serialization, right, with 2, 3, 4 episode arcs leading to pushing, because DS9 pushed the story forwards over the course of its 7 years. And after like 3 or 4 years, you started to get these. You could see where Ira Stephen Bear was like, no one at the network is watching us right now. Let's have an arc.
Yeah.
And they'd arc it up.
And they launched the careers of the Kardashians.
Oh yeah, the Kardashians.
So. All right, great pick. Do you have any runner up on a new series, TV series?
To be honest, I've got a lot of returning ones.
Okay, well, we'll get to that next
round.
round.
Caught my attention for new is this.
Nice. Yeah. Okay, Will, top pick, anticipated pick for 2022 new TV series.
I have a bunch. I'll kind
Let
of
us have
narrow
it.
it down.
Tasia's
to
gone.
2.
We can take 3 hours if we want.
Yeah, I'll narrow it down to 2. The first one is sort of I'm very interested in, but I don't know a ton about it. Is that there is a Hulu series on the Elizabeth Holmes saga, which actually just came to an end. Well, maybe not end, but some sort of pre-conclusion. And it's called The Dropout. It's on Hulu. I don't know a ton about it. I'm just very interested to see a serialization of it. I have binged various documentaries. I listened to the podcast about Elizabeth Holmes and about the trial. So I'm looking forward to this series. But number one with a bullet is probably Obi-Wan. That's probably my most anticipated series. Again, I think it is an interesting time frame, very much like Star Trek. It's going back a little bit. It's filling in some of the gaps. Obi-Wan, we know that he was on Tatooine. We know that he was, doing some things, maybe looking after Luke, and just, what was actually going on during that period. During Rebels, we saw that Darth Maul, spoiler alert, actually comes to seek him out. So there's some things going on there. There's some concept art that's been floating around, which is pretty cool, of him in sort of desert garb, with a long gun and stuff like that. So I think there's some really fun things that they could do there. I know that sometimes going back in the past, some fans don't like it because they already know what's happening, whether it's Star Trek or Star Wars or what have you. So I'm a super fan of all these sort of sci-fi things. So I'm just looking forward to seeing a new slice of the world and to, know a little bit more about one of our favorite characters.
That's a great pick. And for those playing at home, the series I believe is called Kenobi, and that should be debuting on Disney Plus later this year. I don't have an exact date on that, but I'm sure we can look that up. So, but the Book of Boba Fett is currently playing. Have you guys been watching that?
Yep.
Greg, have you?
Tatooine. So
yes.
I posted a tweet about this the other day, which is I won a 30-year-old schoolyard argument with that first episode. There are 41-year-old guys and a few girls actually across Canada right now that I hope tuned into this because it happened exactly as I said it would. This was a 30-year-old victory lap, a schoolyard victory lap. Yeah.
Do you care to elaborate, or are you trying to avoid spoilers?
So I literally, because the thing is with the Book of Boba Fett, he shows up in The Mandalorian. We know he's alive, but I said this is how he's going to survive, and I said specifically that he was going to use a flamethrower to get out of there. The digging out mummy style of the desert, delightful, just a joy. And it's funny because I got, well, he digested over 1,000 years, and I'm like, that's what we have back to tanks for. Boom, smash cut to a back thing. I got you. I might have a lower a little bit, just a little bit,
just a teeny,
just a bit. Anyway, so that's like 7-year-old me.
Vindicated finally.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've
So-
got there's a lot of great great TV coming out this year, and most of it not on your usual broadcast or cable networks, thanks to all the proliferation of streaming services and the agglomeration of IP to certain mega corporations like Disney, featuring all our Star Wars and Marvel content. My pick is in that same universe. I've never considered myself like a huge Star Wars stan per se, but I have to say I am definitely looking forward
Yes.
to Andor, which it tells the story of one of the characters from Star Wars Rogue One, which
Yes.
I was probably one of my favorite of the modern Star Wars movies. It's a great sort of spy thriller type type movie, and Andor promises to be more of the same. So I'm down with that. I like spy thrillers. I dig Star Wars, and great actor as well. So that's one I'm definitely looking forward to.
Can I say just one thing? It's my favorite Star Wars series named after a grammatical conjunction.
And
Andor.
Can I buy a /
Excellent pick. That was right up there for me. In some ways I'm really sad. Spoiler alert, what happens to the characters at the end of Rogue One. It's some of the best character building that Star Wars has done since the very beginning. Pretty much most of the main characters in that. K2SO was one of my favorite droids. We were rewatching it over the Christmas season.
Nice.
It's like, I'm with you because I've been told to, so I just so spot on. All the characters
You are
are
being
so
rescued.
great. Yeah, exactly. So it was sad what happened. I was actually in a theater with some little kids who started crying. So you and me and
Each
Tristan
time,
were all
still.
little kids. Yeah. So I'm glad it's coming back, basically.
Can we say that was a triumph though in filmmaking and
Oh.
not getting into merchandising?
Yeah.
And the last scene alone,
Yes.
just like if you weren't sure if Vader was a badass, that last scene basically.
I've heard so many people nitpick that, and it's just like, man, that was awesome. I don't care.
Yeah. Well, and that's honestly the difference between the fans that I want to hang out with and the fans that I don't.
Yeah.
Right? If you see a nit there and you're like, I'm gonna pick this, and you're like, the man has a lightsaber on and threw a guy into the roof. I'm busy. I'm not. The nits are not being picked here. The roof.
Just concentrate your nits on The Last Jedi, would you? Like, come on, you got enough. There's enough there.
My wife has this line that I love to quote, which is, "You can please none of the people, none of the time."
Exactly. So Andor, starring Diego Luna, looks very promising. The only thing that is a problem with a lot of prequels, and it's a problem with this, and it's like a problem with Kenobi, is some of the drama gets sucked out of the room just a bit because you kind of know how it ends at the end for those characters.
That's what I said. Yeah.
So you just got to go for the ride and just enjoy it. Enjoy the art, the filmmaking, the other characters, the friends we make along the way.
Yeah.
But so Discovery actually had this problem though, right? Because we knew when Pike came on the scene, we know what happens to him. So the stakes for him are low because he can't die. Not here, not now. But what they ended up doing though is separating out the risk so that they're the other people that you see on screen. And so the question I'm interested in with Kenobi and with Andor is, who else are we going to meet for whom the stakes will be high and in some cases will be paid?
And that's where Clone Wars was another one that really did that. And some people can be cynical about why Ahsoka was brought in initially and that she was a Padawan, and that didn't make a lot of sense because Anakin wasn't a full Jedi Knight and blah, 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 blah. But now people care about Ahsoka, and she was the only thing that had any stakes in that because we knew she wasn't around in Episode 3. So what happened to her and what was her arc, and they were able to navigate things, and not spoilers on 2 shows and Unlimited series, but she appears a couple times again.
It's
And-
interesting because like we also had Star Wars Rebels,
Mhm.
right? And so when you think about it, you know, Kenobi's in the wild in Kenobi. Yoda's in the wild. They're clearly not the only Jedi that made it out. We know that Kanan Jarrus also made it out with the Jedi in Rebels. And so you've got Ahsoka, Kanan, Yoda, Obi-Wan, Ezra is out there somewhere with Grand Admiral Thrawn. There's as much as it felt like The Last Jedi and Skywalker, last one. This is how much it meant to me.
The
as much
Last
as-
Jedi or something.
Oh no, the Rise of Skywalker.
Rise of
Rise of
Skywalker. As much as it felt like that contracted the universe, which I think could have been done better, it does feel like the universe really, just outside of our peripheral vision, is exploding. And it's that extended universe stuff that they didn't like what was done by comic book writers and by video game writers. So they kind of sucked it all back in. But every once in a while, like with The Mandalorian, they're like, here, have a dark trooper. And, 18, 19-year-old me is like, cool.
Yeah.
So they're finding the little places to put those acupuncture needles in to get us back to the stuff that we liked.
And that was the thing, going back to and/or was that that was we were starting to take off again in the final trilogy of the Skywalker saga, or whatever you want to call it, and it felt like, no, they built some great characters, but luckily the Mandalorian has come back in and built some new characters, and I think there's a, like you say, Gray, there's a rich universe, there's some characters that we know, but there is a ton of opportunities for things that we don't know because we've been so myopic about the Skywalkers that I think there's real opportunity. There's some great sort of nuggets in there with, crime lords and Jedi and, smugglers and what have you. So scum and villainy. So I think there's just a lot of, and Rebels, and I think there's a lot of great stories that are out there.
I think to keep on theme, they might want to rebrand the Star Wars universe as Star Wars, etc.
Yes.
to go with Andor. So now you make a point. I saw one criticism about the premiere episode of the Book of Boba Fett is that they felt that the lead character, as in Boba Fett, wasn't as compelling as in The Mandalorian, because in The Mandalorian you had this character who was a bit of an enigma, who obviously was righteous, who had a mission to protect the child. But by contrast, you see Book of Boba Fett, and he's basically an old dude, wannabe crime boss taking over for Jabba the Hutt. And is that really the kind of character we can relate to and sympathize with? It
resonates with me.
Yeah, dare to dream, Gray.
Right? I have my Fennec Shand, personal assassin friend. I think that's great. You get a couple of Gamorrean guards. They're probably great at a poker game. Yeah.
So we'll see what they do with the character, because we've known so little about Boba Fett in the canon, because he's been so enigmatic traditionally as well. But now the mask is off, thanks to his appearance in Mandalorian season 2, and mask is going to be off a lot of the time in this too. So okay, where's the beef? What more to his character is there going to be? I don't know if you guys have seen it, but there's a neat little special on Disney Plus, The Legacy of Boba Fett, where they talk about the actors who've played Boba Fett and just the lore and the cult following that Boba Fett has developed, largely because he did have very limited screen time. And so people's imagination ran wild. And of course, the comic books and the novels kind of ran with the lore of Boba Fett. Exactly.
But I will say this: Tamara Morrison, in injecting and inflecting his Maori heritage into the character. That first fight scene with Jaffe Stick in Mandalorian, and you just see those eyes, and you're just like, "I'm here for whatever you do with this character." This felt authentic and awesome, and just like, yeah. And I think it seems like this is part of the character's arc, is he is taking, the culture that he has grown up with and injecting this into a world that didn't really have it. When he was playing Jango Fett, when he was playing the clones, there was too much formalized militarism, whereas I think with Boba Fett, it's like, let me show you something perhaps that you have not seen, and I'm here for it.
And to your point, Gray brought up that line, which is one of my favorite lines, which is no disintegrations, which if you look at that a little bit, so he's only got 2 minutes and 7 seconds of screen time or something, Boba Fett. It's like, no disintegrations? What's he done in the past?
Did you notice in the first episode?
Yeah.
Somebody got disintegrated?
Exactly, yeah. So it's like, is this his reputation? He's a badass. It's like he never doesn't even have to say anything. People say it
wasn't a
for
threat
him.
anymore. He was just like, you know what? Screw you in particular.
Yeah.
I think what we learned from that episode is if you ever tumble into a Sarlacc pit, you want to pray to the whatever deity above or the force that there's a semi-digested stormtrooper whose oxygen you can, steal for a little bit until you burn your way out.
Quite reasonably, given the time frame, could have actually been one of his clone brethren in the newer armor. One of his brothers might have actually given him life.
There you go. All right, so we spent more than half of our time of talking about 2022 upcoming series, talking about a late 2021 series, Book of Boba Fett, but definitely go check that out. And the book, the Boba Fett Legacy, a little mini doc on Disney Plus, also recommended to help set the stage for sure. I have a couple of quick runners up in the upcoming TV. Oh no, is it? Yeah, upcoming TV series. Hang on.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh no, just one runner up, and that is from the Marvel Cinematic Universe series. We've got a sort of an obscure character who I encountered a few of his comics back in the 80s, and that is Moon Knight, portrayed by one of my favorite actors, Oscar Isaac. So, I mean, some people disparage Moon Knight as a bit of a Batman knockoff. But I think there's some interesting backstory and lore there. Bring in the Middle Eastern angle for sure. The Egyptian gods, and I think there's lots of grist for the mill there. So we'll see. Oh, what did we end up? That was a very short teaser. Wow. Okay, so we'll turn that off. Anyway, we've got at least 3 Disney Plus Marvel series coming this year. We've got Moon Knight. We've got The Marvels. And we have She-Hulk. I'm not sure if there's anything else. That's a little light compared to last year, but we'll see if they surprise us with any.
Yeah,
others.
I think they're working on Armor Wars, or is that 2023?
Secret Invasion, Armor Wars.
Yeah, Secret Invasion is on the. So this is all part of Phase 4, right?
What If?
Yeah, there's another What If. Yeah.
All right.
I'm here for all of it. Like Disney Plus is probably the best value. I'd say equal to Netflix. For me.
Yeah, even with the recent price increase as well. I think it's like up to from $8.99 up to $11.99 Canadian.
I was paid $150 for cable.
Yeah, and they've added since they added the Star library as well. They've got a lot more sort of non-kids and non-family stuff in there too. All right, so Gray, let's back to you talking about returning TV series you're looking forward to in 2022.
Yeah, I've got a couple. The Umbrella Academy. Is one there. I am so excited to see where it goes. Great set of comics. Love the comics. They have gone in a very different direction than the comics did. Colm Feore, famous Canadian actor, Bon Cop, Bad Cop, is in it, and where they left the second season, pardon me. There's just so much going on here that I am stoked for.
Can you set the stage for folks on what Umbrella Academy is? Because some people might not know.
Yes. So basically, at one point across the world, a number of women gave birth to these children spontaneously all at the same time. And so a doctor has gone around and gathered them all up because he believes that they have superpowers. And sure enough, most of them do. And so he's decided to create a private school / superhero team in the vein of Professor Xavier, a little like the X-Men. And they fail. It is
sort of like Doom Patrol, like
a little bit, yeah. And it's just like they're just, unfortunately, like personal interactions and just a ton of dealing with emotional issues and essentially emotional abuse, as they're basically wrought into a superhero team. One of them is dead. One of them can speak to ghosts. One of them is basically a Superman who has had a bit of a genetic issue happen where he's almost shaped like a gorilla. It is a fantastic series. There is time travel that happens in the second season. The first season leads up to this phenomenal, apocalyptic finish, which I can't even spoil it for you because it is just so bizarrely off the hook and insane, and it's a delight. So,
what would you liken it to for those who may be curious, but are trying to prioritize the myriad series we've got, coming at us from all directions?
It's basically like if you took the Avengers of Marvel and took the Avengers TV show. They did a movie with Uma Thurman and I can't remember the other fellow, and kind of slapped them together. It's this bizarre pastiche of time period stuff and action comedy that
so there's some humor to it.
It's hilarious and it's violent. And it's touching and it's horrifying and saddening, and there's just so much good going on here.
Better or worse than Doom Patrol? Because Doom Patrol was pretty mixed. I was excited about it to start, and then I found it kind of I lost.
I would argue.
Went on. Yeah.
I would argue it's better than Doom Patrol. I think Doom Patrol does a very good job of being Doom Patrol. It's really not for everyone. Doom Patrol is more pastiche and shtick. Whereas this, it doesn't take itself seriously. It is serious. And it just happens to be funny. Whereas I think Doom Patrol, they play for jokes. They play for drama here, and the characters and the situations inherently have humor about them. So they can be funny without having to try.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Any runners up for you in upcoming series, returning series?
Lower Decks. Made here in Vancouver, Star Trek Lower Decks, animation from Titmouse Studios, just an absolute riot.
We're still watching season 2. Is season 3 coming out this coming year?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. And so they lampoon some of the best moments in Trek. They lampoon some of the worst moments in Trek. This takes its name, I think, from a 6th or 7th season episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation, where they talk about the people who aren't on the bridge. When you are warping into a dangerous situation with time travel or parasites or whatever else, finger snapping gods all the time. And so, yeah, it's delightful and wonderful. And some people absolutely loathe it, and that's not my Trek. And good for y'all. It's not, but it is my Trek.
Yeah, and that's the thing about Trek is that people seem to be pretty precious about it because there's like the canonical Trek style, very episodic. Every story has almost like a moral to it, and when they start to experiment with different styles, be it in this case an animated comedy, or Picard, which is more drama, or Discovery, which is more action oriented with a heavy dose of feelings this season, and people they just don't like it, and it's almost like a visceral response. And honestly, I think some of them are more successful than others, but it's worth giving them a fair shake because the people who are creating these shows are fans of the material. There's obvious love for the material there, and there's in Lower Decks, a lot of it is references and see what I did there, and it's like, okay, we get it. I think season 1 was stronger than season 2 for Lower Decks, but it'll be interesting to see what season 3 brings us for sure.
That moment there that just passed by was, how is a phaser rifle different than a phaser? Yeah, it's bigger.
All right, how about you, Will? Returning series for 2022. What's got you excited?
Well, I do like Star Trek Lower Decks. Just as an aside, just to
another vote for that. Yeah.
That's the Trek I probably like the most recently. I've really enjoyed it. Returning series, I have a couple. Probably number one with a bullet is Stranger Things. I think we're finally going to get another season of that this year.
Finally,
yeah. So that one's been long coming. They often are a couple years apart. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then
the kids are going to be I don't know, You got
it's like, hurry
jobs
up,
now,
guys.
and like,
They're gonna have their own kids
It'll
soon.
be the
Yeah,
mid
exactly.
90s. They're going to Edgefest.
yeah,
It's gonna be
yeah.
weird.
I mean,
Yeah.
we talked about the trailer, or sorry, the
Yes.
teaser for this like 6 months ago on the show.
Yeah.
So it's coming out like mid 2022, I believe.
Yeah.
But
And
you're,
this
you're,
was
you're
supposed to be
stoked for that one.
2021,
Say again?
right? It was supposed to be mid 2021. It was supposed to come out in July of 2021,
Oh,
and it's been pushed back. And pushed
thanks,
back and
COVID.
pushed back,
Yeah.
right?
And then the other one that I'm really looking forward to, and it seems to be the theme of the show, is The Mandalorian. So that's probably coming. I believe it's coming out next December or this December 2022. So I'm looking forward to that.
They're really going to make us wait for that, aren't they?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So because they're giving us, book Boba Fett right now. We had, the Mandalorian season 1 and season 2 that were spread a year apart, and that's what got us. Season 2 of the Mandalorian is what got us hooked into Disney Plus, because we saw the upcoming Marvel release schedules. But I was like, okay, the first Mandalorian season we just watched on a free trial, and then when season 2 came around, it's like, okay, there's enough on Disney Plus now to keep us going there. So yeah, Mandalorian season 3 after
we call it the Mandatorian in my house. So
well, there's quite the bombshell finale for season 2, so it'll be interesting to see where they take it now. And I think I'm not alone. And when we saw a certain X-wing fighter starts come into proximity of where Mando and Grogu were, and it's like, ooh, who's in that?
Oh, I knew.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Exactly. I was up on the back of my couch going,
Yeah.
it's
it had to be.
Yeah. That was.
I would definitely Sebastian stand for this show if they kept that character coming back.
So good pick, Mandalorian season 2, but that's like so you are Mr. Marshmallow Test, just like the delayed gratification. Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that reminds me. Ghostbusters Afterlife's out for rental today.
Ooh.
Speaking of marshmallows, nice.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. I'm gonna check it out. I just couldn't do it.
I've got a couple. One that I think is probably aside. I agree wholeheartedly with much of what you guys have been saying, especially as regards to Strange New Worlds. But I was surprised and delighted to learn that Atlanta is coming back for a 3rd season. That is a series on FX starring Donald Glover. At least the first couple seasons were, and a fantastic supporting cast. Really interesting, slices of life that as middle-aged white dudes you might not encounter, but some really creative storytelling. There's one whole episode that featured Donald Glover in quasi Michael Jackson-esque face. Like it was a very strange kind of almost gothic thriller. Really, really neat show. And if you haven't seen it, if you're a fan of Donald Glover at all, definitely recommend going and checking out seasons 1 and 2 because of some of the themes they explore. Some of which are maybe somewhat predictable, but some of which are sort of unexpected. And apparently, season 3 goes even other places you wouldn't be expecting at all, quite literally. So that's probably my number 1 pick there. And then second to that is, and we talked about this, Jamie brought this one up last week as a favorite of 2021. It was actually came out originally late 2020 in the States, but early 2021 in Canada. And it was Ridley Scott was behind this, Raised by Wolves. So Raised by Wolves season 2 will be upon us this year. And I believe I think it was on AMC in Canada. If not it was definitely available on Crave. Really interested in learning more about this universe that they've created there. Really explores some themes there about science and belief and zealotry and all sorts of stuff. And just really, I mean, it's very dark, like literally, and somewhat thematically as well. But a lot of the scenes are quite dark or quite bleak. And some people don't like movies with, like Stephanie, my wife, didn't want to see Mad Max Fury Road because she said too much desert. There's a lot of like similar kind of geography in Raised by Wolves as well too. But some neat acting, some neat ideas. Definitely worth checking out if you're into some hard sci-fi. So, moving on to upcoming movies of the year that we might be most excited. And back to you, Gray.
So here's the thing. I've got like answers of things that I actually want to see.
Uh-huh.
But I'm just going to preface it with I'm just killing for something that is not a superhero sequel or a sequel to something that I loved in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Fair enough.
Top Gun Maverick. Yes, I'm going to watch it. Doctor Strange Madness in the Multiverse. Yes, I'm going to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
The Batman. Yes, I'm going to watch it. But it's just like highway to the repetitive zone at this point. Like I'm sure they're going to be great. Says the guy about to go and rank Ghostbusters, but still.
Well, of those, Top Gun Maverick, at least we haven't seen anything in that universe for 30, 35 years, right? So
I will give you one. And it's one that I was shocked that it's coming from this director, The Norseman.
Okay.
Robert Eggers.
Okay.
The guy who directed The Lighthouse and The Witch.
Yes.
And like fond of these like heady, incredibly well shot, dramatically driven films. And when you watch the trailer,
The Northman. Okay.
The Northman. Not the Northman, the TV show. The Northman.
Yeah.
And looking at this, it's like Bjork's in it, which is great. But like
Alexander Skarsgård's in there too.
Yeah, because I think anytime you do anything that has to do with anywhere in Scandinavia as a region, you have to hire Skarsgård.
One of the Skarsgårds and or Sarsgaards.
Yes, yeah. It's just a guard contract. So, but they're making an action movie and it looks sublime.
Now, is this new IP or is this existing IP that I'm just?
Well, this is actually a Norse legend, but this is new IP. Oh. Yeah, you gotta give it to the.
So it's public domain. Let's put it.
Yes. Yeah. This is not based on a comic book. This is not based on a television show. This is not based on a novel by Michael Crichton or Tom Clancy. This is
1,500-year-old public domain. That's
yes, which I believe is just outside of where Walt Disney wants it. So
exactly, it's like don't touch our mouse. Yes, Alexander Skarsgård is in The Stand, which we're still getting through the TV adaptation of the very long Stephen King novel from the late 70s and updated in the early 90s. And he plays the Dark Man in The Stand, and he's quite compelling in that. But it'd be interesting to see him in more of a traditional Norse drama here. So this movie, so you said it's the same director as The Witch and The Lighthouse? Yes. I mean, Witch was amazing. I haven't seen Lighthouse yet. But,
so we got Ethan Hawke, we've got Willem Dafoe, Bjork, Nicole Kidman's in it. I just watched a retrospective of Willem Dafoe's acting career, and I'm so excited to see him in this. Like after his speech in The Lighthouse, like what are you gonna get to do this time?
And you saw the latest Spider-Man, No Way Home, right? Yeah, that just reminded me too. Like what a great actor he is.
Yeah. I cried at that one. I took myself to see it. Sat in the
there was some feels. There were some feels on that one.
Yep. Yeah, there's a certain Garfield-esque human being that if I ever saw him on the street, I just want to give him a hug and be like, "You were amazing. You are amazing."
Have some lasagna. Monday will be over soon. Anyway,
right. So that's my upcoming one for this year is going to be The Northman. It's just that's Omicron and Pi and Moo and whatever else notwithstanding, I will be in the theater day one for that one.
So with shout outs to existing IP, Top Gun Maverick, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and what was the other one that you threw out there too? I couldn't keep.
I didn't mention it, but I am totally there for Sonic 2.
Enjoy.
I really like the first one.
There's some Sonic Lego that just came out that looks awesome. Anyways,
I'm open to it since they finally since they went back to the drawing board on the first one and like kind of fixed Sonic. Horrific original incarnation there.
It's sad that they tried to take it in that direction because like the actual end product is great. Like James Marsden and Jim Carrey just like so good. And we are now going to see the Dr. Robotnik that we are used to. They've by the end of the first film they got to a point where the Eggman cometh.
Just stay tuned for the Walrus. I just learned as a quick aside that someone did a homebrew version I believe it may have been one of the original devs of Sonic on the Commodore 64.
Oof.
But it requires, I believe it requires like 128K expander module or something like that. It's a very rare sort of expander module. So very small target audience for this, unless people are playing, of course, in emulation. But it looked pretty darn good, really pushing the envelope on what the Commodore 64 could do.
I saw an FPGA cart come out the other day that is like a build it yourself that actually adds that functionality, I think.
Nice.
See if I can dig that up.
All right. That'll be a whole nother segment. Will, anticipated movies of 2022.
Well, I have a bunch. I could eat pizza every night for dinner. I could watch Marvel movies all the time. I love all of the fiction that we love so much: Star Trek, Star Wars, Marvel. So one of my picks will be from that universe, and Doctor Strange is definitely up there. Multiverse of Madness, Into the Spider-Verse sequel. It's coming
across the Spider-Verse.
Yes, which some of the stuff that it's based off the 96 TV show with Madam Web. Shout out to 25-year-old TV show or 26-year-old TV show. And also the comic books that were out about 9 or 10 years ago, which I read and just loved. This is just a great universe for Marvel. Many people feel that the first movie was maybe one of the best Spider-Man movies, animated or not animated. So I'm hugely looking forward to that. And then just sort of staying in the animated realm, another movie that I'm super thrilled for, and I know that we're all big fans of Pixar. And so I think it's called Turning Red. There was a trailer that came out a little while ago. The director is actually Canadian from Ontario, and she actually did the short Bow, which was about the mother with the bow bun that was animated. So I'm really looking forward to this, and obviously different cultural points of view, different nationalities. Walt Disney and with Encanto and some of their Luca, and has been exploring different cultural and origins and other people's stories, and I'm really looking forward to this because obviously there's a little touch of Canadiana here as well. So and most of what Pixar does is amazing, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Good pick. Yeah, to be honest, I haven't seen a Pixar movie in quite a while. Just kind of missed the last few. Used to always see them in the theaters, and then COVID happened, so still haven't gotten around to seeing Soul. But it's probably on Disney Plus. So
Soul is great. Soul is great.
Yeah. I don't know if you've been watching any of Stephen Colbert's stuff, but Jean-Baptiste, who's the musical guy with Stay Human, he, I believe, won an Oscar for that. And it's just the soundtrack is phenomenal. Jamie Foxx is phenomenal. It's so, go take some time this week. It's worth your time.
I would definitely maybe watch Luca first and then watch Soul. Luca's pretty good, but not nearly as good as Soul. I still like Luca. I know some people really hated it. I actually enjoyed it, but definitely not as good as Soul.
All right. Well, since Will stole my number one pick, which was going to be across the Spider-Verse, I'm going to go into the. That's all right. I'm going to go DC instead, and I got to say that I'm excited to see what they do with the Batman, starring Robert Pattinson. When it was first announced that Robert Pattinson would be playing Bruce Wayne and the Batman, a lot of people were skeptical because they thought of him as only, one of the characters from Twilight, but there's a lot more to Robert Pattinson than that, especially if you've seen any of his other movies, including, say, The Lighthouse. He's definitely versatile, and I like what they're doing with the production design there. I mean, it's very Batman, as you would, at first glance, you think, oh, it looks very Christopher Nolan. So we'll see, how they look to differentiate there. I've seen it described as a reboot, but I'm not sure if this is going to be a new franchise, because DC has really gone into the one-offs now, with Joker being the last one. They had kind of given up on trying to build a cinematic universe. Maybe So I don't know if you guys have heard if there's going to be any follow-ons to this or not. Some people are still waiting for the
Justice League sequel.
Yeah, and so who knows? But I'm just intrigued more than anything about what they do with this Batman. You've seen all the previous ones. I don't expect there to be any nipples on the suit this time around. We'll see. My second choice would be these two. I have actually two other quick ones. They're kind of guilty pleasures. One is Skulls. This was originally going to be called Prey. It's the next Predator movie.
Oh,
and to be fair, the Predator franchise has been pretty uneven. But they go 300 years into the past to the origin story of the Predator in the world of the Comanche Nation, featuring Naru, a skilled female warrior who fights to protect her tribe against one of the first highly evolved predators to land on Earth. So could be terrible, but could be intriguing. I'm hopeful because I really like the director, Dan Trachtenberg. He used to be one of the co-hosts of the
Totally Rad
old video podcast, Totally Rad show. And he also has directed a number of music videos, and he also directed 10 Cloverfield Lane, which was a bit of an underground hit, kind of very different than the first Cloverfield movie. And if anyone hasn't seen it, I would recommend you see this and then the Cloverfield Paradox, because all three movies are very tenuously connected. But Dan Trachtenberg did a great job with 10 Cloverfield Lane, which is a very, very small movie, very claustrophobic movie, but I thought very effective and great acting jobs there. So yeah, again, same with the Batman, just sort of intrigued to see what Skulls might have to offer. And it was, like I mentioned, originally called Prey, but there was, I think, a movie just out last year called Prey, so that they, I guess, renamed it to avoid confusion, because that would be the natural flip side to Predator, right? Mm-hmm. And maybe part of it is reframing the other character in there, and maybe not disempowering her by merely calling her Prey.
Mm-hmm. Or is the Predator actually
exactly? And then my last one. This is super guilty pleasure.
Yes,
we did we featured the trailer of this a few months ago in Momentous Live, or did we? I can't remember.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Moonfall, directed by Roland Emmerich. Roland Emmerich, master of destroying the world over and over again, whether it's The Day After Tomorrow or 2012. And this time the moon is headed for Earth, and oh boy, what are we gonna do? It can't be any worse than Don't Look Up. So
didn't like Don't Look Up, eh?
It was a little on the nose. It's like, really, you see what you're getting at there. It was just like a lot of the jokes were just like, it was trying really hard. I find it tough to watch movies when Hollywood is sneering at its audience. When it's sneering at the audience that actually won't even watch it, and the rest of the audience are like, "Oh yeah, so we get it. It's all very clever, and we should really do something about this thing." It's what we really want is Bruce Willis to save the world. Come on.
Now, would you say that movie is about climate change?
Quite obviously, yes. Some people say it's about COVID.
I think it's about giant space rocks. I'm deadly serious.
I think Leo would disagree.
You know what? He dies at the end, so how smart could he be?
Exactly. But the bear lives, surprisingly enough.
We should absolutely be worried about giant space rocks coming towards us. I'm just saying.
I agree.
And yes, it's an algorithm climate change. But it's Brian Cox actually did a great video for Netflix about Don't Look Up, where he's like, it's about climate change. But while we're on the topic, every near Earth object that comes by that doesn't quite hit us is nature's way of saying, so how's that space program coming along? Right?
Yep. So Moonfall, big old, even bigger rock heading right for us.
It's so close. Why? It's been in such a stable orbit. Like, what happened? What happened?
But Patrick Wilson and Halle Berry are gonna save us. So,
it's gonna be? It's gonna be moon fracking that ends up destabilizing its orbit and killing us all.
I'm just excited because we've got representatives from both DC and Marvel in Patrick Wilson and Halle Berry. So I think they can do it. They got what it takes. All right, guys, any wild card picks for you? We've covered tech. We've covered TV series, both new and returning. We've covered movies. Any wild card picks that you're looking forward to, whether it's books or games or some other type of category we haven't even considered? events?
Yeah, I have one just to chuck
Hey, it's
out
not your
there.
turn. We start with Gray.
Okay. So we're really hoping to get the grant for the AR VR music festival later this year. So that's
Oh.
going to be in April. As soon as I have more details to share, I will.
Does it have a name
Uh,
or a
not that I can
URL
share.
yet? Nothing
Not that I
yet.
can
All
share.
right.
But
Okay.
there is a name, but it's just not my place to share it at this current moment in time. I've actually been doing some work in Tilt Brush, which has been a ton of fun, just to see what the other artist is going through
You've
to
gone
create the things.
full meta.
Yes, yeah. I'm just, I believe the joke was the 41-year-old VRgin is the. So looking forward to that. I'm also for myself, the other project that I'm really interested in is I'm working with a company, a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization, that's looking at creating essentially cryptocurrency yield on wine or anything that takes time to accrue in value. And so I started working with them a couple weeks ago, and it's kind of
wine.
Wine, yeah,
like it ages like a fine wine.
pretty much. So basically, as the wine is in the barrel and as it's aging, you can actually earn yield on it as you invest in it. So it's a neat concept, and anything that kind of does have value that accrues over time. So like things like classic cars that get more valuable as they get older, or whiskey, or cigars. And so it's a really neat way of looking at it. I'll send the white paper over to you, but I'm interested to see how that's going to look when it launches, because I think the big problem with cryptocurrency is finding real world applications and real world value for people. And so projects like this that actually do have real world value, I'm like, yeah, that's something that I'm interested in. So I'm working with their Create Pod right now.
Cool.
That's my wild cards.
Love it. Love it. All right. Well, be sure to let us know in a future episode of Momentous Live so we can share all the deets with our mums. How about you, Will?
Well, not as sort of big picture as Graham, but a game that I've been waiting for a while, as it was teased a couple years back. I've lost track of all time. It's kind of a bit of a bias. I'm not sure how good it's actually going to be, but Stray, which is a cat that is in a world only populated by robots. It seems to be the only organic organism, and you have to navigate it back to its family, or where it thinks its family is. The trailer was very cool. It's basically walking through this cyberpunk post-apocalyptic Tokyo-looking city only populated by robots, and the only organic is a ginger cat.
Wait, what's it called again?
Stray.
Stray, okay.
When's it coming?
I believe it's coming end of this year. The studio was one that I'm not super familiar with, so it is a bit of a wild card. It's more that I'm in love with the concept than I know if it's any good or not. So, and like you said earlier, Gray, something with a unique idea, especially in games that's not just a sequel or a retread, is definitely interesting. So I'm looking forward to this, but we'll see if it's any good at the end of it. Yeah. But I was all in on the concept, and definitely, the teaser trailer was pretty good when it was first released.
Is great.
But yeah, it's very interesting. There's a lot of questions there, like why are there no people? Why is this the only thing that's around? Is it stuck, Tristan?
Oh, maybe.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
So yeah, it ties into all sort of various things that I think all three of us are into, which is sci-fi and cats, cyberpunky, Blade Runner-y type of things as well. So yeah, we'll see how good it is. It's sort of supposed to be a bit of a puzzler, and I actually like a good puzzler as well. So so yeah, we'll see where it goes.
Coming later this year, but we want it right, meow. So what platforms is it supposed to be on, Will?
I think it was originally sort of teased along with the PS5, I believe.
It's definitely on Steam.
Yes, it's on Steam as well.
Oh, I think that might be our gateway drug into finally getting a PS5.
Yep. Windows, PS4, PS5.
Sweet. No, it looks great.
Yep.
Good stuff. All right, great choice, Will. As for me, my wild card pick is a concert coming up. If it doesn't get canceled, April 24th, Front 242, Belgian electro group from
Pandemonium.
from the 80s. Lots of great stuff. Saw them a few years ago in, was it Seattle or? Yeah, it was in Seattle, but we were having so much fun catching up with a friend at the nearby Thai restaurant. We got there late and only caught 5 songs. So at least we made the whole trip. So they're coming to actually to Vancouver this time. So pretty stoked about this show. April 20th. Nice. Opening act, Reese Fulber, who was done a lot of work with the Frontline Assembly and the other one, Delirium. And he's got his own projects as well. So my Uncle David, who's a longtime photographer, he's actually known Reese Fulber since he was a kid. He's got pictures of him tagging along with Frontline Assembly and whatnot back in the 80s. So pretty cool. It's a great opening acts, and Front 242, every time I've seen them, they've been amazing. Saw them back at the Commodore Ballroom in like 91 or 92, at the Rage in the mid 2000s. And what we saw in Seattle a few years ago was great. And looking forward to them to bring their Belgian electro body music to the Rickshaw in the downtown East Side. So Rickshaw is a neat venue. So we'll see. We'll see if we'll be allowed to dance then yet. But that's the only thing is like all the clubs right now. No dancing, no moshing, no crowd surfing, anything like that. But some acts it's hard not to dance to. So yeah, so that is my wildcard pick. Looking forward to for 2022. Other than that, a couple of projects coming. We've got Tasia with her most recent YouTube video. She's not here to promote it, but we'll do it for her. Top iOS apps of 2021. So she looked at the Apple's App Store Best of 2020 winners and did a little rundown of that in less than 10 minutes. If only we could say the same for our own shows. And then also we finally got around to releasing another one of our videos from the BC Boat Show that Will and I shot back in September. And this one was with the Royal Canadian Marine Search and Rescue, Station 36, Sydney. So I did a little interview with Chris there and learned about how RCM SAR saves literally hundreds of people a year up and down the coast and across the country, especially on the coasts, obviously. So yeah, thanks to Will for helping get this one out the door, and look forward to more. We have a couple more from BC Boat Show, and then finally we'll get to our Vancouver Fall Home Show videos, and then hopefully we'll be going to the Vancouver Motorcycle Show later in January, unless it gets postponed or canceled, and then more goodness to come. So Momentous getting back out in the world again. Any projects? Will, you dropped some beats last week. Nothing new this week. Gray, you got anything for us?
A couple things coming up soon, but nothing this week.
All right. And you, Gray?
Same. I'm just the stuff I mentioned earlier.
All right. So we look forward to more details.
As much as I can. So
nice. We'll see you in the metaverse. Mm-hmm. So if you want to check out Tasia's work, you can see her at youtube.com/Tasia Custody or TasiaCustody.com. Of course, this YouTube video, you can find us. Just search my name on YouTube and look for the Momentous playlists there. Otherwise, you can find us at twitter.com/MomentousTV, Facebook.com/MomentousTV, Instagram.com/Momentous.tv. And that's it.
We're
back
done?
to a normal sort of program. Momentous Live next week, talking about, there's going to be all sorts of CES news, where CES just started yesterday, I believe. It's going to be a day short. A whole bunch of vendors pulled out for the in-person portion. A lot of it's going to happen online. So we'll see what kind of news comes out of there. The announcements that started filtering out yesterday. So we'll probably be doing a bit of a CES recap next week. So I look forward to chatting with the two of you and hopefully Tasia next week. And to you at home, and to you, Gray and Will, thank you. I hope your week is truly momentous. Oh no, I hit the wrong button.
Hurry!
There it is.
Got